I'm Chase Richards, and I work at Corsearch, and I've subtitled this How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Data, of course. I've got some obligatory background slides for you. You go to these things, and people, those killer speakers, they've always got, like, really humanizing photos of themselves with, like, their pets and their families, and I don't have either of those things, so you get stock version of me. I was born and raised in Las Vegas, studied physics and environmental studies at Whitman College in Walla Walla. Great wine town, for those of you that aren't local, hit the east side of the state sometime. I joined Marketly back when we were our first office, which is a startup in 2011, just down the road like a half a mile in Factoria, which was a great spot at the time. We led engineering there up until we were acquired in fall of 2020. I don't recommend going through an acquisition purely remotely. That was not a fun time. Long video call sessions. Much rather do that in person. And I'm currently a VP of engineering at Corsearch, which I will talk about in a moment. And I work out of the Cloud Room in Seattle. It's a great little local co-working space on Capitol Hill. Feel free to come join me there anytime you'd like. What is Corsearch? We operate in what is known as brand protection, and it was formed out of a public company in 2018, carved out specifically around the trademark solutions part of the business, and then they went on an acquisition spree, acquired eight businesses around the world in the matter of 4 or 5 years, Marketly among them, and we primarily have 3 product lines, how we think of it. Trademark solutions, which for those that are in the brand building business, is search and watch for trademarks, and that's international. Imagine a large company like Microsoft wants to register a trademark, and they want to make sure that they don't run into conflicts around the world. And then once they have that trademark and they start putting out products, they might want to protect those products and from being counterfeited or encroached on, and that's where anti-counterfeit and anti-piracy services come into play. Some of that's more difficult than others, depending on which your target is. And we mostly sift through tons of innocuous, harmless, authorized data to find the infringements that are in that haystack. And that's really what we're after. And brands experience all sorts of different infringements, and it really does depend on whether you're a physical good brand or a digital media company, audio, etc. And so we work with all shapes and sizes. I just wanted to give a quick tour through my ClickHouse journey. At the time in 2017, 2018 era, I was leading engineering at Marketly, and I personally maintained dozens of database instances on physical servers, still in the era when before cloud was more attainable for small companies, and it was still made financial sense to run your own hardware. In fact, we still have a few racks in a colo space in Seattle, and I still get buzzed on occasion. And I used to spend countless nights optimizing MySQL database queries and schemas and table structures, and worried about batch ETL jobs failing in the middle of the night and me having a miserable day. I used to spend countless hours reading community content, looking for ways of optimizing the performance or looking for new technologies. And in 2017, I came across this Percona blog post. I used to follow them pretty religiously on never used Percona as a MySQL distribution, but really appreciated their content. And so just for fun, I dug it up and took a screenshot of the article there back in 2017, shortly after, I guess probably a few months, maybe a year after it had been open sourced by Yandex. Another one of the blog posts that I came across in 2017 had this: "It's a shame the software isn't more widely popular, as it makes excellent use of commodity hardware. Fingers crossed this blog post goes some way to encourage those in the data community to give ClickHouse a try." Well, Mark, you did it for me. So, and here we all are. One other shout out, I guess, is to the Cloudflare team that were early adopters and posted some quality content back in the day. Us little people to pick up ClickHouse and give it a shot. The first application that I integrated ClickHouse with is still near and dear to my heart, still in use today. And I think it's interesting for two reasons. And that's because it was the first that we did, and it was early in the days of ClickHouse, and it's a client-facing application. It serves one of our primary client-facing reporting portals, and as a startup, that was a very big deal. what was it, or what is it, and why did we need something like ClickHouse? One of our primary products in the Marketly days, pre Corsearch acquisition, and still is a core product and services in our content protection anti-piracy business, and that's search engine protection. We scrape millions and millions of search results every hour, and we were looking for infringing content. I won't blame anybody if you recognize some of the words up on the screen. If you've accidentally stumbled across a way of watching a movie for free online that you might not otherwise be able to see. Again, that's just research in my space, and so there's no shame. And we had invested heavily in developing the search engine monitoring metrics. You took a lot of inspiration from SEO and SEM metrics, rank tracking, traffic share, things like this that were popular and appealed to marketing teams that were trying to optimize their search engine footprint and profile. And we just kind of flipped that on its head and said that the pirates were essentially encroaching on your territory, your real estate in these authorized search result positions. And we developed these really killer metrics and built this front end. And we were running on this pre-aggregated set of MySQL tables, heavy table partitioning around date. And it worked well at the beginning. And then our client systems kept getting larger and larger. And which was great. Meant we had good business as a startup, but the data kept scaling up, and MySQL, of course, the index constraints are the index constraints, and you are bound by that a row-based technology. So in 2018, I built a drop-in replacement prototype built around ClickHouse, almost identical table structure, just running on ClickHouse in the early days. And it was fully in production for all clients by 2019. I just highlight on the side there that we had 10 plus dimensions by which we could filter and interact with the information, and even had a customized chart building tool within the application. We wanted to offer this kind of flexibility to clients, and some of the smaller clients really liked that, and that worked well on MySQL. And then some of the bigger clients did not. And so here's the payoff slide. We don't have to spend a ton of time in here, but you can see some of the, for those that have come to ClickHouse meetups like this before, you see some of these eye-popping numbers for those that have come from the transactional world. And client A is someone quite familiar to people here. And you can see we've got the compression ratios alone just made it that much more maintainable as somebody that was managing the servers and the deployments, on top of of course, all this application performance and interactivity that our clients benefited from. The schema was designed, the integration implemented, and the servers deployed by one engineer. That's me. It just kind of worked. And that was the beginning of my personal ClickHouse journey. And that is still in production today and still part of the pipeline. I noted here that those numbers were from 2018, and that was running on my laptop at the time. So the production version of this is much, much faster even. And ClickHouse has gotten a lot better. In this particular use case, low cardinality was a massive jump forward for us in terms of performance and compression ratios. And I see that I'm at the 10-minute mark, so breeze on through here. One of the other use cases we have is for observability. And I know that the ClickHouse team has been making a big push on this SQL observability. I'm actually genuinely surprised it took the community so long to adopt it for this purpose. This is really a use case that's really important for us at Corsearch. And that same search engine service, the microservice that, if you want to call it that delivers this, that parses the search engine results from, you can see some of the big search engine names up there on the screen, Baidu, Bing, Google, Yahoo, Yandex, and YouTube that happen to be in this time window that I picked. This is a really simple table design. It's two tables, one for a generic metrics system that allows us to track things like the queue depths up there, and then one that encapsulates the unit of work, what I call the atomic unit of work, which is an attempt to crawl a search engine result page. And then you can build all these fun, fancy charts and time series metrics. Each column essentially becomes its own time series. If you model your data around your unit of work, then you can always materialize it again into its original form, which is something I really like. And there's in this system, the 10 billion plus rows and small numbers for some of the presentations that will come later. But in a world of a small team managing a small set of servers, this works fantastically. And the recent improvements to the Grafana integration, for instance, and this all predates the OTel, which actually their data model, their data schemas, if you haven't looked at them, well worth reading through those table designs. And that's where I would send people first. I wouldn't do it yourself unless you had to, or unless you wanted to. But this all is well before that. And it is actually genuinely amazing to see SigNAS, for instance, that's backed entirely by ClickHouse, and it's just fit for purpose in terms of the observability world. And then I've got just a long list of other things that we use ClickHouse for internally at Corsearch. We do use it for storing some vectors. We use it to compare. We run it through an SBIRT model. We run web page content through an SBIRT model and use those embeddings to detect changes, substantive changes in web pages, and then find connections in between web pages that look and feel similarly. So you can imagine this is a lot of this in our space is a whack-a-mole game. Pirate sites popping up every day that are just clones of one another. And if we can automatically detect those similarities, then we can be a lot more efficient. We also capture web traffic. We've replaced several more elaborate data pipelines with single ClickHouse clusters. And we've got plenty more stuff in the works, including more work with vectors. So hope that the team keeps pushing on that use case. And a few stray thoughts from an addict before I close out here. The ClickHouse blog. They didn't ask me to say this, but the ClickHouse blog is actually a fantastic resource, both for little projects and also just inspiration. And they're always pumping out content, so kudos to them. Keep it up. I mentioned low cardinality, and awesome to see things like the ULID integration that just happened last year. You don't know about those, go check them out. They're great for distributed time series data IDs. And I will give one shout out to the Altinity crew. They were among those in the early days that were pumping out some content, and I hope that they continue to contribute to the community. And I am genuinely excited to try ClickHouse Cloud in a production workload. Really cool to see the architecture develop there and become cloud native, and offer a genuine differentiated solution there. So with that, I will conclude for questions.